I've never been more conflicted about a game before. In some ways, this is a really good Yakuza game. In other ways, it's terrible. To start with, the DLC is absolutely terrible. I'll go over a lot of the DLC, I bought most of it, but I definitely would not support the DLC in Yakuza games going forward. I will to make videos on it, but if I wasn't, I definitely feel scammed with what was locked behind a paywall. New Game Plus is DLC in this, which is really dumb. There's also some jobs that are DLC and outfits, which I can kind of understand that, and Sujimon, I'll get into Sujimon later, but it's basically pay to win. I'm going to try and avoid spoilers as much as I can. Obviously when I talk about the story, I'm going to be going full spoilers, because the story is one of the biggest problems I have with this game, but there are some points where it's going to be impossible not to mention spoilers. Some of the bosses and some of the dungeons are from the story, so I can't really talk about the dungeons and the challenge of the game without talking about spoilers. But anyways, let's get into this. This is the most disappointing ending that made me completely give up on the Yakuza series going forward, as far as Kiryu is concerned, which I'll get into. Which is funny because the rest of the game is really good as far as the story goes. It's kind of like you go on a date and everything's going great, you get along super well, but then she drugs you and you wake up in an ice bath with a kidney missing. It's exactly like that. It makes the rest of it seem bad. Before I get ahead of myself, in my last video I was super excited about this game because the trailer had so much stuff that I was hyped up about. I literally was gushing about how excited I was about this game. I think this game did its job of getting me hyped as shit for Yakuza 8. I think this is going to be the first Yakuza game where I just play straight through the story, beeline to the end, because I want to know what happened. And this is the first Yakuza game where I just completely ignored everything and beeline my way to the end of the game, because you're not high enough level to get into the boss, which brought another set of problems. But overall, I was so excited, and they really made it seem like the crux of this game was Kiryu, and him getting his last swan song, and reuniting with all the people from his past, and they showed little teasers here and there. They showed Akiyama, they showed Sayama, Date, Haruka, a bunch of people from Kiryu's past, all coming back for Infinite Wealth, which is crazy because Sayama hasn't been in the game since Yakuza 2. So for her to come back, that was a big deal. I couldn't see what was going to happen. Well, spoilers, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen everything from Kiryu's past. Those little teases that you get in the trailer that make you think, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next. Pretty much nothing happens next. So that pretty much just leaves Ichi's story. You cycle between playing as Kiryu and Ichi, but mostly Ichi. This is Ichi's game, pretty much. And Kiryu has moments here and there, which is fine, but that's not the way it was marketed at all. And as a newcomer, I don't see how you can get into this game. They seem to want to rebrand with the last Yakuza game. It was technically Yakuza 7, but they rebranded it as Yakuza Like a Dragon. And then they started calling the newer games Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Like a Dragon, Ishin, Like a Dragon Gaiden, to kind of hook new players. But in this game, as a newcomer, you're going to be completely lost. The whole game advertises it as, look, Ichi's in Hawaii this time. The whole game takes place in Hawaii. You have to play through 5 hours to get to Hawaii. The trailer really ruined this game, I feel. I get that it's an RPG and they're long, but not everybody's going to put that much time into a game when they just see Hawaii in the trailer and Kiryu and they want to get to that part of the game, which isn't until 5 hours into the game. The game starts with Ichi working at Hello Work. It's basically where people try and find people jobs, essentially. Ichi meets with the old party from the last game, and they make it very clear that Ichi likes Psycho. And the next hour of the game is him asking her out on a date. So as a newcomer, you're kind of just like, who the fuck are these people? They end up going on a date, and then he just completely goes into this schizo rant about how much he loves her and then asks her to marry him. So she's pretty much like, okay. So she just kind of walks away, and then Ichi apologizes to her and he's like, that was probably, shouldn't have asked you to marry me on our first date. And then she's like, no, it was all good. And then they just don't talk again for like a year. It then shows that the Yakuza are working with the Seiryu clan and they can't get jobs. Ebi and Sawashiro are in charge of this little endeavor. We then see a VTuber that exposes Ichi for being in the Yakuza. And because of this, Ichi and all his friends get fired. And I can't emphasize enough how slow this all plays out. If you've watched the trailer, you know where it's going to end up, so it really seems to drag its feet. Before your date with Psycho, you have to go around Ejincho looking for clothes and trying to find the best places to take her with Adachi and Nanba, which even as a huge fan of the last game, I was like, alright, can we wrap this up? I kind of want to get to the good stuff. I don't want to focus on all this shit. It's pretty bad when I already wanted to skip dialogue at the very beginning of the game, but I feel like the beginning of the game is the worst part of the game. It seems like every Yakuza game just wants to hold you in place and just little by little give you the freedom. When every other Yakuza game, the reason it was so fun is because it's like, you're in Japan, go crazy, do whatever the fuck you want. You want to go play arcade for 15 hours? Go ahead. But now it's like you have to unlock everything. I want to go to Hawaii. Alright, well that's 5 hours before you can get to Hawaii. Oh, I want to unlock the Pokemon battle game. Okay, well that's going to be like 10 hours. Oh, I want to unlock the Animal Crossing minigame. That's going to be like half the game before you get to that part. After Ichi and his friends get exposed by this VTuber, Ichi decides to go to Hawaii to meet his mom, Akane. He's sent on this mission by Ebi and Sawashiro. They basically say that this woman in Hawaii is likely Ichi's mother, and the whole time they're like, oh, well maybe it's your mother, well maybe it's your mother, and there's never like a, yeah, she definitely is. It's all like alluded to. And he's just kind of like, well, if she's not, that's totally fine with me. And it's like, the whole point is that he's going to go find his mother. So it kind of seems weird that they don't ever want to pull the trigger and say, yep, that's his mother. They just allude to it the entire time. I think they do have a point at the very end of the game where they do kind of talk like, hey, I'm your mom. But it's just kind of weird that the whole game they're putting up this front like, is she your mom? Because there's never a big reveal, oh, she is your mom. It's just kind of alluded to the entire game, and then it's like, as the audience, you're like, well, obviously that's his mom. So, while on his flight to Hawaii, Ichi meets a boy in a wheelchair named Eiji. He just helps him get into his wheelchair, and it kind of reminds him of his old master from Yakuza 7. Ichi then gets to experience America for the first time and gets robbed immediately by a taxi driver named Tomizawa. Eiji ends up saving him, and he finally goes to his mom's house to meet her for the first time. But when he gets there, a girl named Chitose is there. She says she's the housekeeper and that his mom will be back soon, and so he kind of bonds with her a little bit. He gets a second taste of America. She ends up drugging him, stripping him, and leaving him at sea. Ichi then gets arrested and gets his third taste of America, where he gets framed for a crime he didn't commit. He ends up breaking free and running away, where he's finally rescued by Kiryu. Kiryu's gonna help Ichi look for his mom, and while doing so, they run into Tomizawa again. Tomizawa works for this guy named Yamai. Ichi convinces Tomizawa to join him, and he becomes the first new party member of the game. I like Tomizawa a lot. So now it's Kiryu, Ichi, and Tomizawa all looking for Ichi's mom. Kiryu then reveals to him that he has cancer. Now, why would you think a Yakuza who spent his entire life smoking and drinking and eating fried food would have cancer? Is it A, because he has cancer? B, because he smokes and drinks? C, because he has an extremely unhealthy lifestyle? Or D, because he got exposed to radioactive waste? That's right, he got exposed to radioactive waste. They can't just say he has cancer. They have to give you a lore reason for why he got cancer. It's like they thought people would be confused why someone would have cancer. I'm sure everyone watching this video knows somebody that has cancer. I've never heard someone say that they have cancer and been like, well, were you around some radioactive waste? It's like, okay, that's super common, especially for someone as old as Kiryu is that has not lived a very healthy lifestyle. Kind of makes sense that he would have cancer, but they have to give a lore reason that he was saving somebody in this radioactive waste factory, and while saving him, his suit ripped so he got exposed to the radioactive waste. They can't just say he got cancer. It's the dumbest thing. Like when this game was announced, everyone knew that Kiryu was going to have cancer. I don't think anybody was surprised, like, oh, I wonder how. This doesn't make sense. You don't just get cancer. There has to be a lore reason why. It's the dumbest fucking thing. They also established he has 6 months to live. There is nothing that will save him. He is going to die. They make that very clear at this point in the game. He is fucking dead. He is going to die very soon. He says that he went to doctors all over the place, and because he's connected to the clan that he's attached with, that basically owns him, they're so rich that they let him see all these different doctors because he's such a huge asset, and all of them come to the same conclusion. You're going to fucking die, dude. There's nothing we can do about it. 6 months tops.
Kiryu-sanがガンだなんて。なら、あんたこんなことしてる場合じゃねえだろう。早く医者に見てもらわねえと。
とっくにやってるさ。だが俺の場合、もう転移が進んでて、手術でどうにかなる状態じゃない。 抗がん剤治療を気長に続けるしかねえんだ。
Keep that in mind for later. So after this revelation, we realize that Chitose stole Ichiban's passport when she robbed him. They end up tracking it down to District 5, which is this area that's run by this gang called the Barracudas.
Barracuda.
They end up catching Chitose and she ends up joining the party. And with that, that's all the new party members you get for the game that were not in 7. And I gotta say, Tomizawa is fucking awesome. Chitose, not so much. I'll get more into why I don't like her when it becomes relevant, but Tomizawa is the GOAT. Chitose is looking for Akane, or Ichiban's supposed mom. Apparently everybody is. The Barracudas, the Yamai Syndicate, and the Ganzi Mafia. I don't care if I mispronounce that. So throughout the game, in order to level up your party, you have these things called drink links, where you can go to a bar after getting their relationship up a certain point and having a little side story with them where you drink together. And it all ends in a fight at the end of it. And it's their own little personal story, and every party member has it. Through Chitose's drink link, you find out that her family is rich and powerful, and she's just a boring character. That's pretty much her only interesting thing. Her family's rich, and she doesn't want to be a part of her rich family, so she runs away, and she's using a different name so that her family won't find her. Her drink link is all about how she's trying to hide from her family, but her butler ends up finding her. And there's probably somebody that played this game that did her drink link and is like, oh, you're leaving a bunch of stuff out. It's because I could not give a shit. I don't fucking care about Chitose. I did her drink link twice and I still can barely tell you what happened in it. It was so fucking boring. Tomi's drink link is way better. Tomizawa was accused of a crime he didn't commit. At the time, he was in a relationship and his girlfriend was pregnant. Getting arrested was so much stress on his girlfriend that she ended up miscarrying. So now Tomizawa wants to track her down and find out where she's at. He's kind of given up on being in a relationship with her, but he still just wants to see how she's doing and whatever happened to her. So his drink link is really interesting, and you find out that she is in a new relationship now, and through tracking her down and meeting her new boyfriend, he's able to get closure on this whole chapter of his life. It was really interesting. It was something more than his family's rich and he ran away. Who fucking cares? Also, throughout the entire game, Tomizawa gets bullied constantly, mostly by Chitose, but there's like a running theme that anytime something goes wrong, they blame Tomizawa, and they just make a joke about him.
いたしまして。イチさんはトミーも見習った方がいいよ。
こいつレストランの廃棄食材は
トミーそんな活動してたのか。
ヤグだもらいに行ったんだよ。
そっちかよ。
それはそうだけどよ、なんか見つかったか。例えばよ、海岸みたいなことできねえかと思って調べてみ、浅瀬が続いてるからここから船で。
へえ、結構真面
目。偉そうにすんな。いや、桐生さんを殺してその場合も
的確な指摘ですね。空気を読んでいないことを除けばですが。
ああ、だってよ、決めつきはよくねえと思ってたな。
トミーはちょっと静かにしてて。
Again, keep that in mind for later. It gets really bad towards the end of the game, where some people make some really fucked up decisions, and yet still Tomizawa is the one getting shit on. So with the help of Chitose, they end up finding the leader of the Barracudas, which is Danny Trejo, which is fucking awesome. And I actually really have a big complaint about this. I want to see Danny Trejo voiced by Danny Trejo, but the only way to do that is to play in English. But if I'm playing in English, I have to deal with a shitty Kiryu voice actor. And in general, Yakuza is a Japanese game that takes place in Japan for the most part, where every character is Japanese. It's almost like a Japan simulator. And especially after playing this series for over a decade at this point, I don't see how I can just switch to English. So I'm not fucking doing that. But at the same time, they're trying to incorporate English actors, American actors, like Danny Trejo. And you don't get to experience that because you're playing in what I see as the intended language, Japanese. And even when you pick Japanese, there's a lot of English in this game.
Officer, help! I'm being robbed! This hoodlum wanted money, and he pointed a gun right at me.
おいおい、まんまとそいつの言うこと真に受けてません
？All right, smart guy. Put your hands in the air and turn around.
わかった。ちょっと待ってくれ。
Get on your knees, right now.
今説明する。俺はハワイに着いたばっかだ。強盗じゃねえって。
Yeah, arrest that scumbag. I'm pissing myself over here.
The game takes place in Hawaii, So one of the characters, Bryce, speaks in English for a lot of the game, and you can tell he does not speak very good English at all. I'm not criticizing the voice actor. His voice acting is fine in Japanese, but when he switches to English, it's fucking jarring. It's really bad.
京都の鏡の
なら彼女は白に
白のこと実は彼女にですが彼女は
Father Bryce, guess what?
You did. Then I suppose it's time to dig in.
How much would you like?
Well, I'm supposed to be on a diet. But today's special. One big helping, please.
Like, I'm trying to be nice, but it's fucking bad. And it really kind of throws immersion out because, like I said, these are Japanese characters. They should be able to speak Japanese. But in this case, Bryce has lived in Hawaii for years at this point, so he should be able to speak better English than what he does. And you can tell from his delivery of the lines that he doesn't really know what he's saying. He doesn't know where to put inflections on certain words. He's just kind of reading the line before him without knowing how to say it.
And am I supposed to be impressed by this? Had you settled this sooner, I wouldn't have relied on Evan's help. If there ever comes a day where he uses this against us, it will be your last, Dwight.
I wish they did a better job of mixing the English and Japanese, making kind of a master cut that was the default experience. Ichiban, Kiryu, all of them should be in Japanese. But then characters like Danny Trejo, they speak English. I'm totally fine with that. But having to pick one or the other was kind of frustrating. But anyways, you beat Danny Trejo and you find out that Akane works for Palikana, which is this charity group that sort of seems like a cult. And the leader of Palikana is Bryce. After this, you find out the Daidoji are still holding Kiryu's leash pretty tight. And Hanawa is back from Like a Dragon Gaiden, which is cool, I like him. So after beating Danny Trejo, they end up confronting the Genzei Mafia, which is led by Wong To, however the fuck you say that. And Wong reveals Bryce is the mastermind of everything. He wants to kill this girl named Lonnie, and after revealing all of this, once you beat him, Wong's own men attack him. You find out that Bryce has many allies all over Hawaii, and you can't really trust anybody. So while being attacked by Wong's own men, you try to make it out and escape from Bryce's men. They end up getting cornered and Kiryu gets captured by Yamai. At this point, Adachi and Nanba show up, kind of figuring that Ichiban's going to need some help. They end up getting Kiryu back, and they kind of realize Kiryu's not doing so hot. So Nanba, since he was a nurse before, gets Kiryu to go back to Japan so he can just kind of rest, because he doesn't need to be involved in all of this shenanigans. So Kiryu goes back to Japan and leaves everything in Ichi's hands. At this point, Kiryu's story takes a complete turn. Sonhee and Saiko join Kiryu, and they're kind of your new party members. So Nanba, after spending like a couple days with Kiryu, makes the assumption that Kiryu doesn't really want to live anymore, and he uses his medical experience to realize getting Kiryu to relive his past will cure his cancer. Makes no sense. It's implied even though Kiryu is said to have super cancer, remember how I said earlier, he's fucking dead, he's gonna die. But now they're framing it like he's only dying because he doesn't really want to live. If he wants to live, if he realizes what he has to live for and the people he has that cares about him, then he'll be able to pull through. And it's like, that's not how cancer works, first of all. But second of all, they made it very clear when Kiryu said that he had cancer, he went to every specialist, the most expensive specialist that he could go to, and they all said, you're gonna fucking die, you got super cancer. But Nanba the nurse makes the realization that if Kiryu finds something to live for, he's all good. And this is where Kiryu's whole story takes a huge turn. It stops being about Kiryu trying to solve this mystery of Akane and everything, and more about Kiryu needs to find something to live for. Which is fine if that was established from the start, but why make the point he's gonna die? They don't even say like Kiryu's kind of given up. It's like he's been to specialists. He knows he's going to die. He's tried and there's nothing anyone can do for him. He's just gonna die. And then they establish, oh, well, he just needs to find something to live for. It doesn't make any sense. So Nanba wants Kiryu to relive past events and go to his old stomping grounds and do all the stuff he did years before to kind of remember what he had going for him. And here, they actually had some cool throwbacks. Although, they were still frustrating, and I'll get to that. All around town are these little icons you can go up to. Kiryu will go and reminisce like, oh, I remember when me and Majima were playing baseball. That was such a cool time. And they actually mentioned some stuff from the past that I never thought they would mention again. Like Shinada comes up again, which is really cool. I'm glad that they at least acknowledged Shinada's existence. But why can't he be in the game? You don't have to have a voice actor. Like, you could literally have Kiryu go to the Ijincho batting center and then Shinada's walking out and he's like, oh, hey, Shinada, looks like you're doing good. He doesn't have to have a voice line. Most of these side stories, they don't have any voice acting anyways. You still have that character. Why not just have him show up? There's also a reference to Tanimura. This was worse than him just not being in the game at all. Apparently, after the events of 4, he just fucking vanished. And if you didn't catch my last video, Tanimura was in 4. He was a really cool new character. But when 5 came around, he just never showed up again. I thought it was because the voice actor got in trouble, which is I'm not even going to get into. It turned out they just threw this character away for no fucking reason. It had nothing to do with the voice actor. And now years later, they're like, oh yeah, Tanimura, he just fucking disappeared. He might be dead, who knows? And Kiryu even mentioned one of his only regrets is that he didn't get to find out what happened to Tanimura. Like, I don't get why they can't just say, oh yeah, he's a police officer in Kamurocho. Like, to throw in that he's missing now, nobody knows what happened to him, it's just kind of a spit in the face. Why even bring him back if you're like, oh, who knows what happened to this guy? So it's like, well, we know he's not part of the police anymore. We know he's not in Kamurocho anymore, so what the fuck happened to him? So from this point, the story bounces back and forth between Kiryu and Ichiban. And from this point on, I'm just going to focus on Kiryu, and then I'll jump back to Ichiban until we get to the end, instead of going back and forth. Kiryu ends up meeting up with Date, and Date is on board with Nanba's plan of giving Kiryu something to fight for. Date helps Kiryu check in on his loved ones. And these all fucking suck. Every single one is in a restaurant or a bar, and Kiryu sits in a corner with a fucking hat, and for some reason no one can tell that it's Kiryu. And he's literally like right across the room from somebody, but they don't have the ability to turn their head and look behind them, so they don't know that Kiryu's sitting right there. Taichi shows up, which is one of the kids from Kiryu's orphanage. He gets into some trouble and then Kiryu saves them. And he sees Kiryu. He's like, oh, there's Uncle Kaz. It's like, oh, cool. Finally, he gets to reunite with the kids from his orphanage. And then he ends up passing out. And then when he wakes up, Date's like, you were just drunk. You hallucinated a human being helping you in a fight because you were drunk. It's like, oh yeah, that good old alcohol makes you hallucinate your Uncle Kaz. So he just believes that because I guess he's fucking retarded. And then they fucking piss me off again. Sayama shows up to meet up with Date in a coffee shop, and Kiryu's just off in the corner watching them behind a fucking bush show the Shack meme. She somehow can't see him. And she reveals that she's, great detective in America, but she's single now because she implies that she's still single because she fell in love with Kiryu and nobody ever replaced that love. So she kind of never really settled down and never married. And then Date is about to reveal to her that Kiryu's alive, and Kiryu stops him. He's like, don't do it. Don't do it. It's like, fucking why? Everything with Sayama was in the trailer. The little moment of her looking at her hand and seeing that she doesn't have a ring, that's pretty much the only thing of substance that was revealed about Sayama. So it was all revealed in the trailer. So what was even the point of having her show up to be like, well, I'm pretty upset that the person I loved is dead. And then Date's like, oh yeah, that sucks. And then that's it. At this point, Kiryu's revealed to be alive. It's on the news. The VTuber at the beginning of the game that exposed Ichiban and got him fired from his job is the same one that reveals Kiryu's still alive. Kiryu meets up with Ebina at the Tojo headquarters, the old Tojo headquarters. The VTuber gets footage of him from Ebina, and this VTuber reveals that footage, and it's all over the place. So it's 100% confirmed Kiryu is alive. If you live in Japan, you know that Kiryu is alive. It's on the fucking news, and I would think if I had a family member or a loved one or a friend that I thought was dead, I would fucking know if it was revealed on the news in the country where I live that they're alive. But still, half the fucking characters act like Kiryu's dead. It's like nobody watches the news, nobody pays any fucking attention, so it kind of doesn't really matter. But then there are characters who are like, oh, we know now that Kiryu's alive, and it's like, it's just stupid. They're so afraid to get rid of the dumb shit decision they made in 6 of Kiryu dying that they have to fuck it up by saying, oh, well some people are just retarded, and they see that Kiryu's alive and are like, oh, that couldn't mean that he's alive. So the characters just pretend that Kiryu is dead when it's convenient for the plot, because the writing is fucking terrible for Kiryu's part. Kiryu still pretends he's dead as well. So at this point in the story, Sayama should know that Kiryu's alive. Kiryu's loved ones all still thought that he was alive before it was revealed he is alive. She's a great detective and she's coming to Japan, so she should know that Kiryu's actually alive. You think she would find out about this, but she just doesn't. And even if she doesn't find out in that moment, when she's talking with Date, when she find out later on and then be pissed off at Date, like, why did you not tell me that he's alive? And at this point, at some point, unless she's a complete idiot, she should realize that Kiryu's alive. What happens then? Or is that just not going to be addressed? She established that she still missed him, that she still wanted to be with him. Kiryu realizes that as well. So I'm just assuming that his thought process, oh, I have cancer, so I don't want to be in anybody's life. So Sayama's whole role in Infinite Wealth is, I sure do wish Kiryu wasn't dead. Oh well, the end. So then, the only person in this game that actually gets to talk with Kiryu, that was good friends with Kiryu, is Akiyama. And you find out it's really fucked up that Kiryu faked his death, because after this happened, Akiyama was kind of sent into a spiral. He didn't believe that Kiryu was dead. He thought maybe he's in trouble, maybe he needs help. I need to find out what happened to him, I need to find out the truth. So this whole time, he's been searching for Kiryu. He's been going all over the world looking for Kiryu, and just nobody fucking bothered to tell him that Kiryu was alive. So it's kind of bittersweet. They get to meet up with each other, but he's rightfully pissed off. And he's just kind of like, well, the last few years of my life, I guess were just a waste of time because you were alive the whole time and didn't bother fucking telling me, piece of shit. And then Kiryu gets to meet with the cabaret girls from Kiwami 2, which is, wow, I'm so glad that you wasted your time on this. I mean, it's fine. It's nice that it's there. It's just frustrating that he doesn't get to meet up with Sayama. He doesn't get to meet up with any of the kids from his orphanage. He has to pretend he's dead, but then the cabaret girls are like, oh yeah, you can reveal that you're alive to them. So then Kiryu gets to meet with Haruka. Oh boy. Can't wait to see what happens. Fucking nothing that you didn't see in the trailers, which is fine. I'm sure they're just building up for their reunion at the end of the game. So then Kiryu gets to meet up with Kamaki, which how the fuck is he still alive? But Kamaki very clearly knows that it's Kiryu. Kiryu has been revealed to be alive on the news. There's no reason to pretend that he's dead, but Kiryu still pretends that he's dead. So then Kiryu fights Amon, and Amon wants Kiryu to get stronger and challenge him again. So then throughout the game, it's revealed that Lau Ka-long, Kashiwagi, and Andre Richardson are all alive. In 7, you see Lau Ka-long and Kashiwagi, and I thought they just had a similar face. Like, there's no way that they're actually alive because they very clearly died in the other games. And it wasn't anything where it was like, oh, well, maybe they survived, you don't see them die. You see them die. Andre Richardson fell off a fucking tower.
What the fuck?
Kashiwagi got shot in the chest like 42 times.
Kashiwagi-san.
but somehow they're alive. And of course they do this dumb fucking thing where it's like, I don't know, maybe I am Kashiwagi. But Lau Ka Long confirmed that he's that character and that he's still alive.
俺の
お前の名前はチャウカール。お前も商売に。そして俺の名は鈴木。勝負に勝ったら。
Kashiwagi was just about confirmed, and Andre was very strongly implied that it was Andre Richardson. Kashiwagi and Kiryu both pretend that they're dead to each other. They're both talking and they're like, oh, you're supposed to be dead. Or Kiryu does. Kashiwagi's just kind of like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And they both have this stupid conversation where they both are playing like, oh, you look very familiar. Why can't they just admit that they both faked their death? So there's no reunion between them really. And it kind of makes death not matter in Yakuza, because there's characters that have very clearly died and they just come back and they just don't fully admit that they're that character. So it's like, oh, well, maybe it's not them. It's like, it's them. It's obviously them. If they're going to do this stupid shit, bring back Ryuji. Also, I can't overemphasize, Kiryu being alive was revealed. It was on the news. They had hard proof of it, but the Daidoji don't say anything about it until they do. After Kiryu meets up, or quote unquote meets up, with almost everybody from his past, Date gets beat up by the Daidoji for reuniting Kiryu with loved ones. And they're like, we don't want people to know that he's alive. It was on the news. What do you mean you don't want people to know? They already know. So that's pretty much the end of Kiryu's backstory that was advertised in the game. The rest is part of his main plot. And it all ends with nobody really knowing, except for Akiyama, that Kiryu's still alive. Oh, and the cabaret girls. And then Date gets beat up. That's it. So we jump back to the story, and Kiryu finds Majima, Daigo, and Saejima to help dissolve the Yakuza for a second time. They have a nice little reunion, but then they start acting like dicks to Kiryu and don't really want to help him. I don't really even get why they're secluded. They just kind of gave up, and they refuse to help Kiryu because the fight needs to happen. And after you beat them, they still refuse to help. Oh, I'm sure we won't see them again for the rest of the game. So that's pretty much the end of Kiryu's story before it all comes to a head. When we come back to Ichiban's storyline, Ichiban finds Akane, and we find out she's been watching Lonnie and protecting her from Bryce. And they decide to use the Daidoji to get Lonnie out of Hawaii. And Yamai decides to help as well. They get back to the hideout, and it's revealed that Eiji is working for Bryce. And Chitose reveals that she's been working for Eiji as well, which is way too late for her to reveal this to them. And Chitose says it's because she was being blackmailed. She had ample opportunity. She's with your party the entire time. So she had so many chances to confess this. So that blackmail must have been fucking terrible. Even if they were threatening her, saying they were going to kill her, I can't believe she would be so shitty to throw so many people under the bus just to keep herself alive. It has to be that they're threatening a family member of hers or someone who's vulnerable. It's got to be something like that. It's got to be something really bad, because she was friends with these people. At this point, you can do most of her drinklings. So they must have had something really bad on her. Nope. She just didn't want her family to know where she is. Remember how she ran away from a rich family? Well, she didn't want her rich family to find her, so that's what they were blackmailing her with. That's literally it. Chitose reveals all this shit as their headquarters is being attacked. So way too fucking late. And in the attack, Wong and Hanawa die. So Hanawa got to show up in Gaiden. He ended up having this nice relationship with Kiryu, only to just die immediately because some dumb bitch didn't want her family to know where she is. So this is completely Chitose's fault. Wong also has a son, and so now his son has to grow up with no dad. Chitose could have confessed at any point. It's also revealed that Chitose is the VTuber from the beginning of the game that got Ichiban fired and that revealed that Kiryu's still alive. She also got to know Kiryu pretty well, and she revealed his identity after getting to know him. She potentially could have gotten Kiryu's family killed. The Daijoji the entire game, all through Gaiden, are telling Kiryu, if anybody finds out that you're alive, which of course this ended up being a lie, anybody finds out you're alive, we're gonna kill Haruka, we're gonna kill the orphans, we're gonna kill fucking everybody, we're gonna kill your aunt, we're gonna kill your grandma, everybody. And then Chitose just reveals that Kiryu is alive because she doesn't want her family to know where she is. I don't like Chitose. So they end up taking Lonnie, and Chitose goes after them because now she feels guilty. Not at any other point, not when she almost got Kiryu's family killed, not when she was stringing people along this entire time knowing what was going to happen, not when she was putting a little girl's life at risk, only after 2 other people got killed. So it turns out the reason that Lonnie is being pursued by Bryce is that she's the rightful heir to the Mililani family. She should be the successor of Sage of Pelicana. And obviously Bryce wants to hold that position, so he wants to kill her so that she can't take it. So now, without the help of Chitose, they track down Eiji. Ichi finds Chitose too, and he forgives her like immediately. And I know that's Ichiban's whole character, is that he's so good-hearted, but can't you just be a little mean to her? Like, even Tamizawa and Adachi are kind of like, are you fucking serious, dude? Like, she just got 2 people killed. It's been like 2 seconds, so I guess she's forgiven. And immediately,
Instantly! Instantaneous! 0.1 millisecond response!
Chitose starts making fun of Tamizawa.
みんなで迎えに行くから
聞こえたよってトミーに伝え
Before Hanawa and Wong's bodies are even cold, she starts talking shit to Tamizawa. Shut up, bitch, you got 2 people killed. I don't get why Tamizawa is the fucking butt of every joke, especially when this bitch got 2 people killed. So they end up getting Lonnie back, and Danny Trejo gets eaten by a shark.
反応することがあってな。
And they're able to get passage to Japan with the help of Yamai. Yamai turns himself in to the police in order to grant Ichiban's party safe passage. Yamai was revealed to have killed his own patriarch, Shuji Tabata, back when he did live in Japan. And in a flashback, we see that the patriarch's wife manipulated him and framed him for the murder. Yamai goes to see her, and it's kind of implied that he's going to kill her, but when he gets there, she's old and has Alzheimer's. And he just puts a blanket on her and walks away, and he's like, alright, I'm ready to go. Yamai's story is really cool. I hope he shows up again. He has a really cool design as well. So now, Akane and Lani are safe in Japan. Ichi and his crew go to Hawaii to stop Bryce, while Kiryu goes to the Millennium Tower to stop Ebina. Ebina literally just hates Yakuza. He wants to kill as many as possible with radiation. That's his whole reason for doing all this. Ebina's mom was knocked up by Arakawa, and he hates Yakuza because Arakawa abandoned them. But it turns out Arakawa didn't even know about Ebina, and since Arakawa is dead and he can't take revenge on him, he just wants to kill as many Yakuza as possible. So Kiryu has to break down and begs Ebina to forgive the Yakuza. On its own, the scene is kind of lame, but when you think about what's actually going on, and how Kiryu is now finding a reason to live, it makes a little more sense. He doesn't actually really give a shit about Ebina. It's more that he kind of discovered a reason for living, and now he holds life as precious. It's actually a pretty emotional scene.
白でも黒でもない灰色の道をだからエビナ頼むお前も生きてやり直してくれあいつらを殺さないでやってくれ頼む俺が謝るからそんなんじゃ許されねえことは分かっちゃいるが俺が謝るからすまなかった
After this, Kiryu passes out and is taken to the hospital. Meanwhile, in Ichi's neck of the woods, they confront Bryce, and they find a cave filled with nuclear waste. And they find out instead of disposing of the waste, they're just moving it here in this giant cavern. So you beat Bryce, and Chitose live streams from her VTuber channel, and revealing what Bryce is doing in this cavern, and where all the waste is, she also reveals her true identity, which she didn't really need to do. She could have just talked, and people would have recognized her voice. I don't know what the point of showing her face was, but it's supposed to be like, oh, look at this huge sacrifice she made. She revealed her true identity. Now her family's gonna know where she is. And now her VTuber secret identity isn't safe anymore. It's like, that would have been really cool if she did that before 2 people got killed. So anyway, she records what Bryce has been doing, and Bryce's goose is cooked. We show that some time has passed, and Eiji is holed up in some, I think, apartment, and Ichiban tracks him down. There's a crowd of people outside of his apartment, and Ichiban tells them he needs to turn himself in. And that not only does he need to turn himself in, but that Ichi will go with him to turn himself in. I didn't mention it, but Eiji isn't actually in a wheelchair. He only did that to manipulate Ichiban. And unlike Chitose, where they got to know each other through the course of the game, you only see Eiji a few times, so it's not like they really get to bond. And literally the only interactions Ichi had with Eiji He was pretending to be a cripple, pretending to be a person that he thought Ichiban would like. So Ichiban doesn't know this guy whatsoever, but he still acts like they're family. And this is my one complaint with Ichi's storyline, other than Chitose of course. Ichi is just way too much of a goody two-shoes. Eji's leg is hurt, and ironically he can't walk. So Ichiban helps walk him to the police station. Ichi carries him because of his hurt leg, and he has to walk through this crowd of people. While walking through, people are filming him and throwing stuff at them, and Ichi's just getting hit with stuff and he just doesn't react at all. Then someone comes up and just starts punching Ichi in the face because he's carrying Eji to the police station. In Japan, which doesn't make any sense, this situation would never happen. But regardless, it does. And Ichi just literally stands there and eats his fist over and over again. Doesn't react whatsoever until the guy gets bored and runs away. And nobody steps in and is like, hey, can you stop punching this guy in the face? Like, they're all mad at Eiji because they're like, oh, he's a bad guy. But then someone comes up and starts punching Ichiban, who has a pretty good reputation in a Jincho. And nobody thinks it's a bad thing. Everybody just keeps filming like nothing's going on. And of course, Ichi doesn't stand up for himself whatsoever. Also in Japan, it's illegal to watch a fight. So wouldn't really make sense for all these people to just stand there and watch Ichiban get punched in the face over again. But anyways, Ichi takes Eiji to the police station. That's the last we see of him. We cut to a month later, and everyone from the party, except for Kiryu, Ichi, Saiko, and Chitose, are in Survive Bar. Chitose went back to work for her family. Oh, the horror. She has to work for her rich family. I see why she let 2 people get killed and screwed over all her friends. Through their conversation, it's revealed that Lani is rebuilding Palikana with the help from Akane. I thought for sure Akane would die. Ichi and Akane have a nice moment and she survives, which is crazy for a Yakuza game. Then it cuts to Ichi and Saiko outside of Survive Bar, and Ichi realizes the reason why Saiko was mad at him when he asked her to marry him, and it was because he proposed without saying I love you first. That's why they didn't talk for a year. She wanted him to say I love you. Okay. He does make a shirt for them to wear, which is pretty funny.
どうだいこれさっちゃんへの愛を言葉だけじゃねえ文字にして表現してみたんだいもちろんさっちゃんのも用意してやる一緒にこいつ来てさ横浜を練り歩こうじゃねえか二人の愛の旅路をよあれ
But what happened to Kiryu? It cuts to Haruka visiting Kiryu in the hospital with Haruto. She walks to Kiryu's room and Kiryu's not there. It cuts to a very sickly looking Kiryu. He's wheeled in to meet the doctor and the doctor asks his name and he uses his real name, so he's not pretending to be dead anymore. And then, that's it. Haruka and Kiryu never fucking meet. Yes, we know they will. We know that literally a few minutes after this scene, they will get to reunite with each other. Maybe they already have. Why can't they show it? We have literally waited years for this. After they messed up with 6, and all these years later, they don't even meet. Why did Date get jumped for helping Kiryu reunite with his loved ones, if Kiryu doesn't have to pretend that he's dead anyways? What a waste of time. Kiryu should not have been in this game whatsoever. They really should have given him a better ending at 6 and just been done with it. This is the biggest middle finger to the fans. I see no reason to do this whatsoever. Why even tease this in all the trailers if you're not going to show their reunion? They teased it all through Gaiden, they teased it all through this game, and then they never get to meet. Everything with Ichi's storyline was fine. The story was really good. The characters are all really good too, except for Chitose. But everything with Kiryu was just disappointing. I can't overstate how let down I am with Kiryu's ending and Kiryu's whole role in this game. Overall, I like the story, but this ruined the entire thing for me. Please leave Kiryu alone because y'all suck at writing for him. From the trailer, Haruka never meets with Kiryu, Akiyama meets with Kiryu as shown. Since 6, he's been gutted that Kiryu died and he's been looking for him. With Kamaki, he pretends he's dead. Kashiwagi, he pretends he's dead. Sayama says she misses Kiryu, somehow missed that he's alive somehow. The only person from the orphanage that's even in the game is Taichi. He sees Kiryu and then somehow believes that it was a hallucination. Everyone should now know that Kiryu is alive, so why can't he meet them now? Truly, I don't know what the future is for Kiryu. In the beginning of this game, Kiryu is super gonna die, he has cancer, he'll be dead in a week. Yet Nanba and Date imply he can live if he wants to survive. The entire purpose of Kiryu's story is him finding something to live for, which is great. He finally finds it, which is where he breaks down on Ebina. Yet the last shot of him, he looks like he's about a year or 2 away from death. He looks like shit. So, glad you found something to live for, Kiryu. You're gonna die. He probably won't be in any more games. Hope you enjoyed a reunion with Akiyama, Date, and the Cabaret Girls. Everyone else is either not shown or they pretend Kiryu's dead. When I was talking about Yakuza Gaiden, or Like a Dragon Gaiden, I talked about how fucked up it would be if Kiryu has a reunion with Haruka only to be like, hey, I'm not dead, but I will die soon. And looks like that's pretty much exactly what happened. So he'll probably have a year, maybe 2, and then he'll just die, which is a great ending. I would give Ichi's story an 8 or 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I really like Ichi. The more I see of him, he really grows on me. I like that there's new characters like Akane and Tomizawa that's allowing Ichiban to kind of stand on his own 2 feet. It would be nice if they could incorporate the characters from Judgment and Yakuza going forward. The same way they did Yakuza 4, where a bunch of characters all going through one story. It'd be really cool to see something like that with Yakuza. As for Kiryu's story, I'd give it a 1. I really feel manipulated by RGG. All the hype they built up was for nothing. Everything in the trailer was what was in the main game. I really feel like they played on the desire to see what happens to Kiryu and seeing him reunite with all these characters, only for him to not reunite with any of these characters. All the hype they built up was for nothing, and I really don't trust them anymore. Someone left a comment on one of my videos recently, which I think makes a lot of sense. In Japan, the Yakuza are not supposed to be shown as good guys and having a happy ending. So they can't really give Kiryu a happy ending because he's a Yakuza, even though he's not and he hasn't been in years. In Japan, they're not really allowed to show that. While he can be badass, he can be noble, he can be all these things, he's not allowed to have a happy ending. So I think this is as close as we get, and I'm super disappointed. That's it. And that's the end of Kiryu. The combat in this game works just like it did in 7. It's a turn-based RPG, and you can have a party of up to 4 members. The leader of your party is either Ichiban or Kiryu. There's 10 total party members you can choose from, split up between 2 parties, headed by Ichiban and Kiryu. Ichiban can have Adachi, Tomizawa, Junjihan, or Chitose for his party. Kiryu can have Zao, Sonhee, Saiko, or Nanba. Each character has their own special class. For example, Ichiban is Hero, Adachi is Detective, and Kiryu is the Dragon of Dojima. Each character can also choose between an additional job. Aside from the specific job, each character can choose between male and female specific jobs. All the jobs from the previous game return, like Host, Breaker, Chef, but the new ones for this game are Sujimancer, Samurai, Action Star, Aquanut, Desperado, Pyro Dancer, and Linebacker, some of which are DLC. And for the females, the additional classes are Kunoichi, Housekeeper, Geodancer, and Tennis Ace, which again is a DLC. I'm not going to go into a super detailed analysis of each job, but I will go over Sujimancer, because that's one of the more interesting ones, or at least it would be if it didn't suck. There's a mini game in Infinite Wealth called Sujimon, which is basically like Pokemon, and the Sujimancer class uses your Sujimon for this job. Think of like Pokemon Trainer in Super Smash Bros. They made a point upon unlocking this class that it gets better depending on how strong your Sujimon are. I did not find that to be the case whatsoever. I did all the Sujimon stuff immediately, and I even had a bunch of DLC that made Sujimon much easier, and I still found this class to be pretty much useless. Aside from that, I thought the Desperado class was really cool, as well as the Housekeeper. But honestly, I feel like the original classes from the last game were the most overpowered. Especially for the females, Idol was the best class you could have. And for almost every party member, I kept their class as the one they start out with. One thing I really found lacking in this game was the lack of party members you can choose from. All of the characters are related to the main game. There's no special secret party member you can unlock. I thought it was really cool in 7 when you can do the business minigame and unlock an extra party member. And she ended up being one of the party members I used for the rest of the game. Majima, Daigo, and Saejima are in this game and they each have their own moveset. It would have been really easy to make them an extra party member. Or really, just give me any incentive to do extra stuff to unlock a party member. But it's just the basic party members, the majority of which were already in the previous game. Each character of your party has 3 stats that you need to level up to 100. Their overall level, which affects how much damage you can take and how much you can do, your job level, of which each character can switch between multiple jobs, and each one goes up to 99, and your party bond, which goes up to 100. The bond level unlocks special moves, like a tag team move, as well as combo attacks. In this game, if you knock an enemy into one of your party members, they'll do a combo attack, so you get an extra hit. They can also follow up if you knock somebody down. So once you knock somebody down, they'll follow it up by hitting them while they're on the ground. Aside from that, you can unlock 6 skill inheritance slots based on your bond level with each party member. So like I said, you can switch between jobs for each party member, but you don't keep the moves that you unlocked for that job when you switch back to another one. Using skill inheritance, you can pick and choose which moves you want to carry over from a selected class. I don't really know how I feel about this. I like the way it worked in 7 a lot better. The way it worked is, as you leveled up a certain job, there would be certain moves from that job that would stick with your character regardless of what job you picked. So it was very beneficial to upgrade multiple classes to level 30, which is the cap for unlocking moves. That way you would have every single move for that specific class. Going into some of the final dungeons, it made sense to get every character's job level to 30 in every class. Here you pick and choose which moves you want to carry over, which on one hand is nice because it gives the player more freedom, but on the other hand, unless you get your bond to level 100, which takes a really long time with each character, you're only going to have a couple of moves that you can carry over from each class. I also was really disappointed with the moves in this. Anytime that you're fighting a boss or multiple enemies that are high level, I constantly wanted a move that would lower their defense, lower the entire group of enemies' defense or attack, and buff the player's defense and attack. It seemed like there was very few buffing and debuffing moves, even fewer that buffed or debuffed the entire party or the entire group of enemies. I saw a lot of people play as Nanba when going for harder challenges, but I personally could not stand using Nanba whatsoever. He comes into your party later in the game, and when he did, it seemed like no matter what I did, he was constantly just getting wrecked. He's sort of like the mage for this game, but his magic was not very good. It didn't do much damage. Plus, you only have so much magic you can use, and his base attack was not very good. You regenerate magic by using your basic attack, but his was just not very good. So his magic wasn't great, and you can only use it so many times before you have to resort to using your basic attack, which is even worse. So I felt like Nanba was constantly letting me down, so I ended up putting him on the back burner because at that point you have 5 party members and you can only have 4 at a time, so I never used Nanba. Once I got to my legend playthrough, I realized he has some incredibly overpowered spells, one of which being Malodorous Stench, which decreases the attack and defense of nearby enemies and only costs 15 magic, which is insane. Not only can you not use Nanba while you're playing with Ichiban, but it seems like he's the only player that has a move that debuffs the attack and defense of the entire enemy team. I can't tell you how many times I felt like I needed a move that would debuff the enemy and I never had it. Aside from Nanba, none of the male jobs have a move that debuffs the enemy. It's kind of hard to play an RPG seriously when it feels like basic moves that it should have are just lacking. It did have some cool moves. There's some moves that have the ability to hit all enemies and also stun them. Linebacker was really good, which of course they made the DLC class really good. But aside from that, I constantly felt like I did not have the tools needed to beat bosses later in the game. And part of that is my fault. Like I said, I ran through this game, so I did not want to sit and grind for levels. I didn't skip over any combat other than there's 2 special dungeons, one for Kiryu and one for Ichiban. It's 4 levels and they very clearly want you to go through the whole thing. It's really good for leveling up, but it's also boring and I didn't feel like doing that over the story, so I skipped it. And everything was going fine until I got to Majima, Daigo, and Saejima. It's funny too, because I know a big complaint with Yakuza 7 was that the game has a huge difficulty spike when you fight Majima and Saejima. And it's almost like RGG saw that and was like, oh, you thought they were too hard in the last game? Alright, don't worry, we'll tone it down in this one. And then just made them incredibly difficult. But it was a challenge that I was able to get through. It was definitely hard, but like I said, I was able to get through it. But that, I feel, is where the game kind of takes a huge spike in difficulty. The final dungeon, or mission, whatever you want to call it, has Ichiban attacking Bryce's island while Kiryu attacks Millennium Tower. Like I said, I was probably a little underleveled for this, but I didn't feel like it was that steep of an issue. With Ichiban, I was able to just barely get past Bryce's island. It took me a really long time. I was on the final chapter and I had about 8 hours to get through the final chapter, which I thought should be plenty of time. Well, Ichiban's dungeon has a squid. The squid has 2 tentacles that can attack you, and then a main face that you have to take out. If you don't take out the arms, it'll basically swallow you, and then that party member is not allowed to fight with everybody else. So you basically have to constantly destroy the tentacles and then attack its face until you can do enough damage to kill it. The problem is that it takes a couple of turns, or at least it did take me a couple of turns, to beat each tentacle. And then when I would go in to fight the face, the tentacles would spring right back up and you have to beat them all over again. So I was put in a position that almost felt impossible, where I was constantly taking the tentacles out and then getting swallowed by it, and then having to heal over and over again. And I eventually used some level ups to get past this, that I got from the DLC. After that, the rest of Ichiban's campaign wasn't too bad. And then I got to Kiryu's. And again, it was hard, but it wasn't terrible. I still had 5 hours to beat the rest of the game, which should be fine to beat one other dungeon. And then I got to the final boss. I was able to beat every other threat up until this point, except for him. Not only that, but he would just wipe my entire team within 2 turns. He just did such unbelievable amounts of damage. So I constantly was needing something that debuffed his attack and buffed my party's defense. But I found that was extremely lacking. So after hours of trying to beat this boss, I realized it just wasn't possible. The final boss was extremely difficult, and I felt like I didn't have any way of buffing or debuffing him because I didn't use Nanba, and most of the jobs don't have that ability. I ended up just watching the ending on YouTube, and then spending hours grinding for levels a few days later, and then I ended up beating it no problem. But it's pretty lame that it came to that. I feel like side content shouldn't really be mandatory to beat the main game. And in this case, I definitely felt like I had to. I definitely didn't beat the final boss for lack of trying. One other part of the combat is Kiryu's moveset. He has the ability to break out of the turn-based mode and just beat the shit out of people, which is pretty cool. He also can switch between 3 different modes of attack. One is his basic attack, the other is his brawler, where he can throw enemies around but it's slower, and then finally is his quicker attack, where he can do 2 attacks, or even attack 2 different enemies, but he does less damage. Kiryu can also level up his soul, body, and tech, which corresponds to his Dragon of Dojima moves that he can use. This is leveled up through reminiscing, finding Kiryu's memories, as well as doing stuff on the completion list. Ichiban has something similar. He has style, passion, confidence, charisma, kindness, and intellect, all of which go to 10. This is also leveled up from just doing random stuff around the map, side stories, minigames, stuff like that. This is also what you use to unlock certain jobs from Aloha links. The last thing I should mention that I touched on previously is Ichiban and Kiryu's side dungeon. For Ichiban, it's Hawaii Haunt, and it's 4 levels of dungeon crawling, ending in a final boss fight. Ichiban's dungeon ends with fighting a group of Robo Michios that are kind of like the Power Rangers, which wasn't a bad fight. They have a regular one is water-based, another is fire, and you have to exploit their weaknesses in order to beat them. Kiryu's version is the same type of dungeon, except it ends with Amon. And here it would be kind of lame if you just fight Amon by himself in a 4v1. So instead you fight Amon with all his brothers, Kazuya, Jiro, and Sango. This was definitely one of the better fights in the game. It kind of reminded me of the fights you did against them in 4 and 5. I swear the video on 5 is coming, please. But yeah, this is one of the better Amon fights. It didn't feel like it had any unnecessary cheapness in it. Amon does have his ultimate attack, which can be deadly, but as long as you're prepared for it and you keep buffing your party and debuffing Amon as much as you can with the limited moves you have, it's not too much of a problem. There is one final dungeon, but it's DLC, and I'm going to save all the DLC talk for DLC, so we'll get to that later. So full transparency, it's actually been a few months from the time that I beat the game and completed it to now recording this, and I didn't take very good notes because I thought I would remember everything, but it actually makes a pretty good point. These side stories fucking suck. They are terrible. Now don't get me wrong, there are some really good ones in here, but most of them are just story related that you're not going to miss anyways, that are literally a 5-minute explanation of how a mechanic in the game works, Like there's a minigame in this called Crazy Deliveries. Can you guess what one of the sub-stories is? You get the tutorial on Crazy Deliveries. Another is Busted. During combat, there's a system called Pound Mates where you can call somebody and you can pay for them to come help you out in the fight. That's its own side story, them introducing that concept to you. Another side story introduces that you can wave to people and become friends with them, which I'll admit, the waving is pretty cool. As you walk around Hawaii, you'll see people with a little bar over their head. You can wave to them and they'll wave back at you, and it'll increase your friendship with them. And then you have a little app which shows you where they are. But that did not need to be a side story, that needed to be a tutorial. And if you think I'm being nitpicky, there's only 52 sub-stories in the entire game, and the majority of them are just story-related or tutorials or stuff that should not be side stories whatsoever. There's one side story where a director wants you to be a stunt double in his movie, and it puts you in a minigame where you have to avoid traffic and get to the end of the road in the allotted time, which is kind of cool. It's its own separate minigame that they made just for this. And then there's one with this guy named Asakura, who's actually a real person. I think he's a fighter, but I know he's also a YouTuber, and he's in this game, and you fight him several times throughout the game. And each time you fight him, it's its own sub-story. It's kind of cool to see someone that I recognize in the Yakuza world. It's also kind of funny, but also kind of fucked up. The whole crux of Ichiban's story is that he screwed things up with Psycho and he wants to make it up to her because he's in love with her. So what type of side stories do you think that he has in this? Him having sex with every girl in the game. There's multiple girls in this game, and if your stats are high enough, there's a special side story where you end up having sex with them. And of course, just like in 7, it ends with them all finding out that you were hooking up with all of them and then beating you up.
私今度はもっとうまくやるからさ。
私の心をもてあそんで。
悪い人にはお仕置きですね。
娘を泣かせる許さない即死と副上司お好みはいや待ってくれ落ち着け誤解なんだ今回のはマジで誤解なんだって
浮気者の男には
Also, I gotta say, more does not mean better. I'm really sick of the side stories in these games, going down the route of you have to do 50 different things, monotonous tasks in order to beat one side story. And that's what these side stories seem like they're turning into. There's lots of side stories where you're just walking back and forth, and they just take up way too much time. But yeah, I think these are some of the worst sub-stories in any Yakuza game. A tutorial is not a sub-story. Every single Sujimon battle counts as a side story. There's also a separate resort town, like Animal Crossing, that counts as a side story. So really there's like 10 actual side stories in this game, and a lot of these were just way too long. A lot of these were just repeating the same side story over and over again. So I was pretty let down by these side stories. So like I mentioned, Crazy Delivery is sort of like Crazy Taxi. You ride around picking up food, and then you have to deliver it to people within the time allotted, and you have to try and earn as much money as possible. This was definitely fun, but there's only like 4 tracks, and within a few tries you're going to master each of these courses. There's not too much to it. You can do tricks while on the bike. Once you learn how to do tricks the entire time, which is pretty easy to do, it's almost impossible to do bad at this. It was fine for what it was though. There's a minigame called Mismatch, which is basically Tinder. It's a minigame where you adjust your profile to appeal to whoever you want. You then pick someone that you match up with, which follows in a text conversation. You choose which response you think the person would like the most, and then you have to type that out using QuickTime events. If you do well, they'll start sending you pictures. If you finish the date, it'll result in you meeting up with that person. Most of these are gags, which are pretty funny, and there's a couple which are just typical RGG videos of a real model rolling around in lingerie or something like that. That's kind of more weird than attractive, but it's a fun little minigame, and the funny ones were the best part. The next minigame is this one called Sicko Snap. This is probably one of their better ones. It's basically like Pokemon Snap. You're on this trolley and you have to take pictures of hunks as you go through town. There's not much more to it than that, but it's fun and it's actually pretty challenging. There's vocational school where you answer quizzes in order to increase your personality, and I, like everyone else who played this, just looked up the answers online and did them all at once. Can Quest returns, where you ride around in a cart and pick up trash. You have to avoid other dudes on a bike, and if they hit you, they knock your cans away. And you also have to avoid the dump truck, which will take all your cans. It's pretty much exactly the same as in 7. I actually think it's the exact same courses, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. The smaller minigames in this are batting, golf, mahjong, and shogi. And if it seems like I'm not talking as much about the minigames in this one, there's a pretty good reason for that, which I'll get into once I talk about completion. But just know, yeah, most of these I didn't even touch. There's arcades here, Spike Out Final Edition, Sega Bass Fishing, Virtua Fighter, UFO Catcher, Karaoke, and the regular casino staples like Oicho Kabu, Koi Koi, Blackjack. The last big minigame to talk about is Sujimon. This is basically just a knockoff of Pokemon. Throughout battles and through special machines called gacha machines, you can obtain Sujimon. You pick a party of 3 Sujimon and battle other Sujimon fighters. Each Sujimon has a different type. They can evolve in this, they can level up, and then you have special nutrients that you can give them to help them level up and upgrade skills and stuff like that. There's a lot here, like a whole lot, and most of it you are not ever going to see. If you fight someone that's like 10 levels higher than you, even if you lose, you'll get a shitload of experience. So the best way to play this is to go find somebody that's like 5 or 6 levels higher than you, either win or come close to winning, and keep doing that until you're a high enough level that you can beat them. And then go fight everyone at level 10 or so until you can beat that rank. One annoying thing about this is you have to beat a fighter in order to upgrade the next set of levels. So like once you get to level 10, you can't upgrade to level 11 until you beat the master of level 10 Sujimon. Which seems kind of pointless. I guess they want it to be more of a fair fight, but as long as I was as high of a level or higher than the person I was fighting, I never lost a fight. I'll briefly touch on the DLC here. You get gifts that you can give to Sujimon that will let you capture them. There's a little button mashing thing you have to do. These are pretty much like Pokeballs, and I pretty much used the best ball that I had every single time. And I never had an issue capturing any Sujimon. The DLC gives you the best capturing item that you can get. It also gives you a lot of items used for upgrading your Sujimon. These are like shakes kind of that you can give your Sujimon, and they level up your Sujimon, but it was so slow I didn't even use any of these, even though I had them sitting in my inventory. It was way quicker to just fight somebody than to constantly try and level up each Sujimon one level at a time when you have 3 team members and 3 reserve members. It was way quicker to just battle them. Also, probably a big reason why I didn't have any issues with this is because the DLC gives you Majima, Saejima, Daigo, and Kiryu as party members. And I ended up using all of them and was able to steamroll most of the enemies I faced. The one Sujimon I used that was not DLC was Sparkle Juggernaut King, mainly because I thought he looked funny. Dondoko Island is probably the best minigame that they've made since the Hostess minigame and Zero and Kiwami too. It's really good. The way this works is you end up on an island with a resort that's basically going out of business. The island is covered in trash and there's thugs that are a thorn in the resort's side. So obviously now it's Ichiban's problem. You harvest crops, catch bugs, fish, and use resources to make buildings, benches, anything you want on this resort. As you upgrade your resort, you unlock more and more land, and as you unlock more land, the thugs attack you more and more. The ultimate goal is to get a 5-star resort. It's also a good way to gain a lot of money early on in the game. You can unlock special resortees throughout the game. These are people who will come to your island, and the more money they have, the more money they'll spend, and the better your island will do. You really can do whatever you want with this, and I think most people are going to get to this point in the game and just completely forget about the rest of the game until they complete this. It's seriously addicting. It's very similar to Animal Crossing if you've ever played that, and I spent so much time customizing my island while Hawaii was basically burning down, and I couldn't give a shit. One funny thing that I noticed is that when you get to the island, you're not allowed to leave until you get to a certain point in the island, but the island never tells you what point you're allowed to leave and go back to the main story. I think a lot of people not only are going to get addicted to this, but are going to get to this point and not realize that they can leave, because the current task will keep telling you, oh, you need to upgrade your island to get to a 3-star resort. And once you do that, it says, oh, you need to upgrade it to a 4-star resort. So I can see that being kind of frustrating when your task changes to only Dondoko Island tasks. And it kind of makes it seem like you have to finish this before you can get back to the main game. But I love Dondoko Island. This is the type of minigame I like to see in these Yakuza games. Overall, I think all of the minigames in Infinite Wealth were really good. Even the ones that were kind of quick to beat, I didn't mind too much. They were fun while they lasted, and they never forced you to sit there and play over and over again. So overall, I'd say these are some of the best minigames in any Yakuza game. So most of the trophies in this game are very self-explanatory and easy. Just beat all of the main stuff, beat the main story, beat Dondoko Island, beat Sujimon, and just play through the game and you'll get most of the trophies that way. There's also one for maxing out your drink link or your relationship with each party member, which is a pretty big part of the story, so I feel like that's not a lot to ask. There's one for unlocking all the jobs, another one for reaching level 50 with Ichiban. Pretty much any minigame, as long as you complete it, you'll get a trophy for it. The hardest trophy I can see people getting is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. 8.5% of people who played this game got this trophy. This is basically extremely simple, but the only way you're going to get it is if you go out of your way to get it. When it rains, there's a chance that you can see a rainbow off in the distance, but there's only a couple places on the island where you can see the rainbow, so you pretty much just have to, anytime it rains, run over to that spot and get ready to take a picture. And if you do that, this is an easy achievement to get. I am absolutely not doing the completion list. It is such a waste of time, and you can tell they did not put any effort into doing this. The only reason it's here is to help you level up Kiryu and Ichiban's specific personality traits. And because of that, the list is doubled. So what I mean by that is Ichiban has his own list of things to do for completion that gives him little upgrade points. And then when you switch to Kiryu, a lot of his list is exactly the same. So like I said, there's a mini game in this, or there's an arcade game in this called Spike Out. It's definitely not an arcade game that I enjoy whatsoever. And most of these arcade games are pretty short and sweet. This is like hours long to beat. And of course, that's one of the points for completion. I started doing it as Ichiban, and I got to like the 4th level out of 5 after hours of playing, and I was like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. So I stopped, and in order to get back to level 4, I would need to play it all the way over again from the beginning, which I'm good, no thank you. But not only that, when I switched to Kiryu, I saw that for completion, I had to beat it as with him as well. So in order to complete this game, I would have had to have started this arcade all over again, sit there for hours in order to beat it, and then switch back to Kiryu to beat it a second time. I already know there's no reward for doing all of the completion list, and since it's exactly the same, whether you're Ichiban or Kiryu, I really felt no incentive whatsoever to do this. And it's a shame too. Like I said, I didn't play most of the minigames in this because there was no reason to. There's no achievement attached to the completion list. There's only one for maxing out your personality trait, which you don't even need to do half of the list in order to do that. So I never really played any casino, no mahjong, which I know people are very excited about that. No mahjong for 100% in this game. As much as I complain about the over-the-top difficulty for some of the completion lists, I wouldn't keep doing this if I didn't think it was fun. So the fact that not only is the completion list not required whatsoever in order to 100% this game, but the fact that the completion list is just copy and pasted, so you have to do the whole thing twice, was a huge letdown. I feel like this is the shortest I've ever talked about the completion list and side content, because really there's not that much to it. On one hand, I kind of respect that it's easy to complete this game, but on the other hand, I enjoy when I make these videos showing things that most people wouldn't see because they're not going through the effort of completing things. Some of the stuff I did for my Yakuza 3 video, I couldn't even find a video of someone doing it online. But for this video, yeah, I completed the game, but what does that really mean? I beat all the side content, and I beat the main story. I'm sure most people here have already done that. I know it's kind of ironic how much I complained about Yakuza 3, yet I keep saying I wish it would be more like Yakuza 3, but at least that game gave you rewards for everything that you did. If they had something like that in Infinite Wealth, I might actually do all this side content. But this list definitely was not made with the intention of people completing it. I ended up not touching most of the side content in this game because it was just completely unnecessary. Do not purchase the DLC for this game. If you do, make sure it's at a steep discount. Even though I kind of have a reason to buy all the DLCs because I make videos about it, I'm definitely not going to support this in the future because this is getting ridiculous. So I bought the most expensive version of this game that came with the most packs of DLC. Still didn't have all the DLC, but had the most of it. So what did that entail? Well, for starters, it came with a lot of random stuff for me to level up with. I had stuff to level up my Sujimon, stuff to level up my base level, as well as a bunch of really overpowered stuff. Like for Sujimon I mentioned, I got Majima and Daigo and Saejima as my Sujimon. You also get a bunch of people for Dondoko Island that will come and visit that are S rank, which means they have the most money to spend. All of that is fine. The pay to win stuff is kind of lame, but I won't lie, I definitely used all of it. Next, there's 2 jobs that are specific to the DLC. I'm not sure how much these cost. I think they were actually a pre-order bonus, but I could be wrong, and if I am, please correct me. I don't think these were too expensive though, so I'm not going to say these are the worst thing in the world. So the 2 jobs were the linebacker and the tennis ace. The linebacker is really good, so I'm not saying it's a good thing that they made this DLC, but I'm just saying I don't think it's that big of a deal. So the big piece of content that was paywalled was the Big Swell. This was like Hawaii Haunt. It's a dungeon of several levels that's way harder than the base game. Now, I don't mind an extra dungeon being paywalled as DLC, but just remember, this was paywalled, and each floor ends with a special boss. So the first boss that's unique to the DLC, and I use unique very lightly, is Sawashiro, which if you're not familiar, is a boss from the base game. Only this time, there's 3 of them. Wow, that's something else, isn't it? I'm sure the next boss will be better. What's the next boss? Giant Shark, another repeated boss from the base game. This is also another boss that I absolutely hated in the base game, but whatever. The next boss is Bryce and Ebina, the 2 final bosses of the game, only together this time. Wow, isn't that crazy? So far, all repeated bosses. The next boss after that, Yamai and Majima, again, from the base game. So 0 unique bosses for the DLC that you paid money for. And finally, the last boss of this dungeon that you paid money for, that they required money, real money that you have to work a job in order to get, that they thought this was so good, we have to put it behind a paywall. They put so much effort into this, so much effort, is the fucking squid, the mini boss from the second to last dungeon of the base game. So 0 unique bosses in this DLC that they charged you money for, just a bunch of repeated bosses that are slightly more difficult, slightly higher level. Oh, this boss is with another boss, so now you have to fight them at the same time. They literally just threw shit together for this. 0 effort went into this whatsoever. Even when they add content onto the game, it's shit. It's complete shit. Well, at least the story's good, right? Yeah, there is a story for the Big Swell, where all your party members are together. Maybe I'm just cynical, but I thought the writing was terrible for this. Kiryu acts completely out of character. He acts like a goofy kid, which you might be thinking, oh, he's friends with everybody and he's not used to having this type of environment, so he's acting a little more friendly. Or it's bad writing. I choose to think it's the latter, but whatever. I paid money for this, so I can say it's shit. And you might be thinking I'm being too harsh. Well, what really pisses me off is the other piece of DLC, New Game Plus and Legend difficulty. You know, the staple of the game, that's been a staple of the game since as long as they had a Legend difficulty, is now behind a paywall. And people were angry about this when it came out, completely rightfully so. And I could almost understand them charging money for this if they really went all out with the Legend difficulty. Maybe the Legend difficulty is just the intended experience of the game. I've played through every Legend difficulty in this series, and sometimes it's really fun. It's a really good challenge. And New Game Plus is also a necessity, but it also makes Legend really fun, because you can start the game with all the abilities you've unlocked. There's some abilities you don't unlock until the end of the game. In Lost Judgment, you don't unlock the Tiger Drop until like chapter 12. So how cool is it that now you can go through New Game Plus on Legend difficulty with the Tiger Drop from the beginning of the game. And now you can play through the entire game, Tiger Dropping everything. That's awesome. That's really cool. It also didn't charge money for you to be able to do that. Because guess what? Once you get to the end of the game, you can't really go back and fight the bosses. So the only way to do that is through New Game Plus. This is the worst New Game Plus they have ever made. It is terrible. It literally is just... oh my god, I'm gonna have a stroke. I'm so mad about this. It's literally the exact same game with no changes whatsoever, except the enemies have a higher level. That is the only thing they changed, and you cannot convince me that they play tested this. You may be thinking that's all they ever do for Legend difficulty. Why are you complaining? No, I mean, when you start a Legend playthrough, you don't get to keep all your abilities and all your everything. You don't keep anything until you unlock it in the story. They've never done that before. And the only thing I can think of is they just never tested it, because it's actually broken. So you start the game as a freelancer and you can't switch to any other job. Even though it's New Game Plus, even though you've already unlocked every single other job, even though you've already leveled up every single other job, you're not allowed to use those jobs until you unlock them in the story. So New Game Plus doesn't mean anything. New Game Plus is broken. You don't get anything that you unlock throughout the game. What's the point of New Game Plus if you have to unlock everything you already unlocked in order to use it? What's the point? And the even bigger issue, there's a cutscene where Ichiban, Nanba, and Adachi have this little moment where they're like, oh, remember our jobs? And they're like, oh yeah, I was the hero, I was the detective, I was the homeless guy. And they all remember their jobs, and they switch to those jobs. And immediately after that cutscene, they get into a fight, and you have to use your new jobs to win this encounter, which is fine, it's no big deal, except for the fact that they give you shit weapons. They give you the worst weapon, the starting weapon that you get at the beginning of a normal playthrough, and you can't change your weapon, so you won't do any damage to these people. This is how I'm convinced that they never play tested this, because you start with shit weapons that literally don't even damage the fucking enemies. You can't change your job, you can't change your armor, you can't change your weapons or anything. So this part is actually impossible, unless you have the right items. Luckily, I had items in my inventory that I could throw at the enemy that would actually do damage. And if not for that, I would have been fucked. I don't understand how they could have this huge of an oversight on something that they charge money for. Like, you can't convince me this was intentional. This was just laziness. This was just, we don't feel like giving you the option to change your weapons. We don't feel like giving you the option to change your job because that's hard. Which, if this came with the game, the base game, I wouldn't be so critical. You know what? They didn't feel like messing with it to make it not broken, not a broken pile of shit. But you know what? It was free. So who am I to complain? But no, they charged money for this and it's still broken. Like I said earlier, when you attack an enemy, if you've done the drink link with your party members, they'll follow up and they'll do a double hit. If you knock them down, they'll hit them after that. You have these tag team attacks that are really good, and they'll use their tag team attack if you've unlocked it. Which, if you're in New Game Plus, you should have unlocked it. Even though you've unlocked it, you're not allowed to use it until it's introduced to you, and until you've gone through the drink link all over again. These boring ass drink links, you have to, which there's 5 levels of it that you have to do. And you have to do it all over again for every single party member. And for Chitose, you don't even unlock hers until way later in the game. And it gets worse. You cannot change your jobs until you unlock the ability to change your jobs, which is not until like halfway through the fucking game. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you have to play hours and hours and hours of the game to be able to change your job, which defeats the purpose of New Game Plus. The whole point is that you want to use the jobs that you unlocked in a previous playthrough to beat the enemies that you weren't allowed to use it on in a previous playthrough. New Game Plus! Plus! That's the whole fucking plus part! But no! They charged money for this! Like I said earlier, Kiryu has an ability where he can skip the whole turn-based stuff and he just starts beating the shit out of people, and it's really cool and it's really fun. That's not unlocked until like chapter 10, so you don't get to use that ability until like chapter 10. It would be bad enough if they just charged you for the legend difficulty, but the fact that they did not put any effort into this whatsoever. All they did was tweak some numbers. And guess what? If you've beaten the base game, and if you've beaten the big swell, you can beat legend difficulty. It's not that hard. The only thing that you have to do is make sure that you have some items to throw at the enemies during the first couple chapters of the game when they literally fuck you over by not letting you change your weapon. I had to do a little bit of grinding in the dungeons, but aside from that, Legend was incredibly easy, it was incredibly lame, and it was the biggest waste of money I've ever purchased. There are trophies attached to the DLC, and they're all stupid, and they're easy as shit. If you beat the big swell, you get a trophy. And then there's a trophy for beating the game on New Game Plus on each difficulty, which means you have to beat the game 3 times, right? That's probably what RGG wanted you to do. But no, if you're trying to get this trophy, all you need to do is get to the final boss. There's a save right before it. Pause the game, play on Legend so that you can get enough experience that you're a high enough level to beat the final boss on Legend. Right before the final boss, switch to normal, beat the game, reload your save, switch to hard, beat the game, reload your save, beat the game on Legend. You do not have to beat this game 3 times in order to get all the trophies. You can get it on one playthrough. The only thing this trophy checks is if you beat the final boss on each selected difficulty. And the funny thing is, more people have beat New Game Plus on Legend than have beat it on hard, because most people didn't know that you can switch to hard right before the final boss, and were like, I'm not beating the game a 3rd time. I wanted to play it on Legend, which is shit, and I'm not going back for another playthrough just so I can have that trophy. 3.5% have the trophy for beating it on Legend, and 3.4 for hard. So that's actually the rarest achievement in the game. But yeah, RGG is my favorite game studio. I will continue to buy whatever games they put out, but I'm not buying DLC for their games anymore, because I feel like they completely took advantage of their fan base. People like me, who are obsessed with these games and like to do everything I possibly can in them, are the ones that get screwed over, so that they can make a little extra profit. So this is my PSA. Do not buy New Game Plus. Do not buy Legend difficulty. It's a complete waste of money. If you really want more content, buy the big swell. Just be aware it's all reused bosses from the base game. Nothing about it is new. If you really want to see the story that bad, you can watch a playthrough of it on YouTube. You know, I really liked this game. I really did. Dondoko Island was incredible. Sujimon was a great addition. A lot of the minigames were really fun. I really love Ichiban as a protagonist. But it's just the DLC, the greed that they had to throw into this game, really put a sour taste in my mouth. The way they marketed this game as Kiryu's final story, and everything that they showed from the trailer is all that you got in the story, was a huge letdown. I really don't know what the future is for this franchise. I think they're just going to stick with Ichiban and Yagami, which I hope they do. Maybe the next game could be Yakuza 9 Infinite Judgment, with Yagami coming into the mix. But whatever they do, I hope they leave Kiryu alone, because they clearly are out of ideas for him, and they need to just leave him alone. They've shown us they're not going to give him a happy ending. So just, at this point, retire the character. We're good. If you really want to do something with Kiryu, do a flashback. Do a sequel to Yakuza 0. Or do another back in time game like Ishin. But just don't try and keep going with Kiryu's story, because you're clearly out of ideas. You're clearly not going to do anything interesting with the character. Just stick with Ichiban and his party, because that stuff is actually really interesting, and it's actually exciting seeing characters develop and change from game to game instead of just getting banished to the Shadow Realm like in every Yakuza game. But yeah, I think I'd give the game a 7 out of 10. Without Kiryu's ending and all the teasing they did about the reunions Kiryu would have, I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. The DLC, 5 out of 10. New Game Plus, 1 out of 10. But yeah, thanks for watching. This was a longer video. I don't know how it's going to come out. I didn't take any notes when I played this game. And from the amount of time between the last upload, as you might have noticed, kind of took a little break, longer than I wanted to. And when I came back, didn't remember as much as I thought I would about this game. There's also not that much to say. The only halfway difficult trophy is beating the game on New Game Plus on hard, which you just have to know that you can change difficulty before the final boss, and taking a picture of the rainbow, which you just need to know what to do to get that trophy. But overall, this is one of the easiest games to complete. Yakuza 5 is coming. That game has a lot of completion components that are exactly the same from 3 and 4. So after having done it twice already, it's kind of hard to do it a 3rd time. I have completed Pachinko. I know people were saying that's going to be the hardest part. So Pachinko is complete. The main game is complete. All the side stories are complete. So now I just got to mop up all the rest and then make a video. We'll see how long that takes. I also have another video coming out that's completely unrelated to Yakuza, but it is related to Sega. I recorded it a year ago at this point, and it's already completely outdated. It's about a game that's about 2.5 decades old, and I made a video on it last year, and somehow the information in it is outdated now. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. Yakuza 5 will be sometime after that. I don't know how long that's going to take, but hopefully not as long as this one. I think I finally hit complete burnout with the Yakuza series, which is why it's taking so long to get these out. But it's been a little while since I played 5, so I'm looking forward to getting back into it. And then I only have one more game in the mainline Yakuza series before I've completed and made a video for every Yakuza game. I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring. I'm considering making a video about that as well, although I don't know how much interest there would be in that. There's probably 1,000 other Elden Ring videos, but we'll see. I started making the Yakuza videos because I just enjoyed playing them, and I got to the point where it stopped being fun for a little bit, and now I really enjoy playing Elden Ring. So I might switch it up. I'll probably still do Yakuza 5 first, but maybe an Elden Ring video after that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Look out for the next video. Yakuza 5 coming soon. Not soon. Coming. I'll say that. And yeah, okay, bye.